Shavua Tov, a good Woch, and welcome to our program. It's Mitzvah Shabbos Kodesh of Shabbos Chazon, and the Rebbe says that during these 9 days, that many of the things of Simcha are restricted, as we all know. Nevertheless, on Shabbos, there are no restrictions. So therefore, we should take advantage of Shabbos to be in extra Simcha for the Simcha that is not allowed to us during the 9 days. But the Rebbe says that there is one Simcha that is allowed. That's a Simcha Shel Mitzvah. When someone makes a siyum on a Mesichte, and if he makes a siyum of a Mesichte, Simcha is allowed. Halachically, it is allowed, and he can call his friends, and they can have a reception, a mesiba, and they can eat wine, they can drink wine, and they can eat meat. So therefore, we should take advantage of that. And the Rebbe many times asked that we should make siyumim on the sichtes as we are going to make tonight as well. And we should attend as many siyumim as possible. And therefore we will break the walls of Golus. In other words, Golus does not allow for a simcha. It's the 9 days. Nevertheless, if it's a simcha shel mitzvah, Golus allows. Even Golus allows. So we can eat meat, we can drink wine in the 9 days and break the walls of Golus. We will therefore make a siyum on a mesichte. But first, our customary story. There's a lot of talk every year during this time of the year when the camps are operating about the Rebbe visiting Camp Gan Yisrael. The year was Tovshin Chof, 1960, and the Rebbe visited Camp Gan Yisrael on Sunday Tes Vov Tammuz. That year, I was saying Kaddish for my mother, Allah Shalom, who passed away that year on the 18th day of Adar, and I was davening by the Omed. So the Rebbe was in camp, and the Rebbe was standing on the right-hand corner on the bima to like in 770, the same position, and the Chazan was to the left of the Rebbe at the very end of the bima. And I was the Chazan for Mincha. And there was a question, are we going to say Tachnun to Mincha or not? The Rebbe is here, how can you say Tachnun? So there was a question. I davened by the Omed, as I said, and when it came to Amvodah Chesame Yisrael Basholim, I say Yul, and then I started saying Kaddish, no Tachnun. The moment I started saying Kaddish, the Rebbe turned the page to Aleinu, agreed. I was told that by many people who were watching. What's going to be the Rebbe's reaction? The Rebbe immediately turned the page to Aleinu. The head counselor was the Meshel Lazar Zolzan Gesund. And he made an announcement before Shabbos that the Rebbe is going to go in to every single bunk. And everyone should stand by their bed when the Rebbe comes in. Now this is an announcement that the Rebbe is coming into my bunk. Got to make sure that bunk is clean. I had bunk Gimel. The kids in bunk Gimel couldn't help me clean. I was up a whole night, the night between Shabbos and Sunday, cleaning that bunk. That bunk had a walk-in closet. So I made sure as much as I could. It took me a whole night to make sure that all the shirts are folded nicely with a nice fold outwardly, so they all look nicely, accurately. And not only that, the walk-in closet had a light, and of course it had a door. So I made sure that the door was open and that the light was on. The Rebbe very swiftly came through. When the Rebbe passed by the walk-in closet, he went like this, like to look into the entire walk-in closet. And then he continued on. Later I told this story to my friends. They said, what? You know what we did? We closed the door to the closet. We put everything in the closet. We closed the door to the walk-in closet, and everything was fine. But the Rebbe made sure to appreciate if someone did something. Rebbe say, also before we get, and we're getting to the learning in a moment. There's a story that's important to all of us at this time. Rebbe Foel Khan Zichlenu Livracha writes it in his book. It's the summertime, and there's a question of tzniyus. And there are many people that have different approaches to tzniyus. The Rebbe Malash, the Rebbe of Lechatchila Rebbe, has his own approach to tzniyus. He doesn't talk about inches, and he doesn't talk about rulers. He has his own approach to tzniyus. This is the story. He told the story that in the year 1854, there was a gzera that women should not wear a kerchief that was called knuppen. Knuppen means a tie, a bow, if you may. This was something that was very popular, and that's how Jewish women covered their hair in a very nice, stylish way. Nikolai, who was a great anti-Semite, didn't like it. And Nikolai gave out a decree against knuppen. Can you tell me, was it his business how Jewish women cover their hair? But he didn't like it, and he gave out a decree that they cannot wear knuppen. And because of that, many women didn't cover their hair at all. So the Rebbe Malash says like this: 20 years later, this was the year 1854. In 1874, there was a gzera. There was a gzera. It was called a matzav chodosh, a new order concerning the draft. Until then, they wanted from every community a few people should go to the army. In 1874, there was a new gzera, a new decree that everyone has to go to the army. And the Rebbe Malash says like this: from the women who covered their hair in 1854, not one of their children was taken to the army. From the women who did not cover their hair in 1854, so 20 years later, in 1874, folgt men doch zu mir, weiß ich, was für Atzodas sie haben. So they come to me, said the Rebbe Malash, so I know what kind of Atzodas they have, that the government wants to take their children, their sons. Now those who cover the hair, not one of them, not one of the children, the sons of those families where the mothers covered their hair 20 years ago, not one of them had to go to the army. From those where the mothers did not cover their hair, 20 years later, they had trouble with their sons. This is the Rebbe Malash's approach to tzniyus. As mentioned, he doesn't go into rulers and to inches. And he says to every Jewish daughter, however frivolous, however rebellious, there's one thing you don't want. You don't want that your hanhoga, your conduct, should affect your own children. So therefore you have to know what to do. This is the story of the Rebbe Malash, the Rebbe of Lechatchila Rebbe. Rabbi say, concerning that the Rebbe asks that we should learn in this period of time, we should learn Hilchos Beis Abchira, and we should make siyumim. This is a kuntres that's dear to me because it's my father's kuntres and it's torn. Seems that that he used it. So we will start with the Rambam in Hilchos Beis Abchira in the first Perek, and he says there, the Rambam says a halacha that is, in my humble opinion, absolutely mind-boggling. Because the question is, who is he saying this halacha for? The halacha is in Hilchos Beis Abchira, in the first Perek, halacha Yud Beis. And there he says, V'hakel chayovin livneis, everyone is obligated to build, ulsa'ed be'atzmon, and to assist with their persona, uv'momeinom, and with their money, anoshim v'noshim, men and women, Hamikdash HaMidbar, like the Mikdash and the Midbar, that everybody has an obligation to help out in the building of the Beis Hamikdash. That's a very, very nice halacha. The question is, who is he talking to? Is he talking about the time of Moshe Rabbeinu in Hamikdash? That everybody had an obligation? Everybody who knows history knows that the Rambam was born thousands of years later. Is he talking about the people in the time of Shlomo HaMelech that were building the first Beis Hamikdash, that they have an obligation to build the first Beis Hamikdash? You look in history, the Rambam wasn't born yet. The Rambam was born thousands of years later. Is he talking about the Binyan Beis Hamikdash Hasheni in the time of Ezra? The Rambam wasn't born yet. So who is he talking to? And he says, halacha, everybody has an obligation to help in the building of the Beis Hamikdash. The Beis, it's as simple as could be. He's talking to us in this generation. And in this generation, he says to us, you should remember, you have an obligation. And what is your obligation? You have an obligation to help with your persona personally and with your money. And the obligation is for anoshim v'enoshim, for men and women. In the third Beis Hamikdash, you're going to see it with your own eyes, and you're going to be there. So you have an obligation to help and build the third Beis Hamikdash. That is what the Rambam says in Hilchos Beis Abchira, in the first Pedic in Halacha Yud Beis. Oh, sorry. Now, as the Rebbe asked that we should make a siyum, let's go to the Gemara. In Midas is the Mesichte that deals with the dimensions. Midas means measurements, with the dimension of the Beis Hamikdash. The Rebbe brings a Mechilte. The Almighty God said to Yecheskel Hanovi, go and tell the Jewish people and teach them the dimensions of the Beis Hamikdash. So Yecheskel said to Almighty God, the Beinu Shalom, Master of the universe, what are you telling me to do? I'm going to go to the people. It's after the Chutbah of the first Beis Hamikdash. They're broken. What am I going to tell them? That they should learn the dimensions of the Beis Hamikdash. Can they do anything about it? Beis Hamikdash is chodev. So Almighty God said to Yecheskel, וכי מפני שבניין שבית המקדש חורב יהיה בניין ביסי בוטל, וכי מפני שבית המקדש חורב יהיה בניין ביסי בוטל. Just because the Beis Hamikdash now is chodev, so the building of my Beis Hamikdash should be annulled. Leichem Elohem, you go in, you tell them that they should learn the dimensions of the Beis Hamikdash. And I will consider it, says Almighty God, as if they're actually building the Beis Hamikdash. The Rebbe sees in this Mechilte that there is an advantage in learning about the Beis Hamikdash even more than in the time of the first and second Beis Hamikdash. Because when they were actually building the Beis Hamikdash, you can always say, they could have done better. They could have done more. But if it's Maleh Ani Aleim, Almighty God considers it, He considers it in the best way. So that when we learn halacha about the binyan of Beis Hamikdash, Almighty God considers it as if we are building the Beis Hamikdash. And this is exactly what the Rebbe wants. We should build the Beis Hamikdash. And now, in the 9 days, and in the last years, the Rebbe asked not only for the 9 days, he asked until the 15th day of Ov. We should make siyumim on Mesichtas, make siyumim and eat. Heard a story, also in camp, many, many years ago. It was a wonderful, wonderful bocher, no longer with us. I love the Pinchas Kunin, Zichliner Livrocha. Told me the story then. His birthday was, I believe, 1 day after Tisha B'Av. So right after Tisha B'Av, he went into New York, he went into Yechidus. And the Rebbe takes one look at him, and he says to him, "Far vos bist du bleich? Why are you pale?" It's for our Rebbe to care, like a child. Like a child comes in to see his father. Why are you pale? the Pinchas Kunen, the told me the story then, because in the 9 days he didn't eat fleshik, didn't eat meat in the 9 days. So the Rebbe said to him strongly, "Du bist doch in camp, you're in camp. And in camp they're making a siyum, so why didn't you eat?" This is the story how the Rebbe cared for each and every one of his Talmidim, Hasidim, like a father cares for his son. Rabbi say concerning a siyum. A Masechta Midas is the Masechta Midas means, as mentioned before, measurements, dimensions of the Beis Hamikdash. At the end, the siyum, it says like this: Sanhedrin Gedelo Shal Yisrael Yesheves Vedonos HaKahuno. The great Sanhedrin was sitting, and they were Don de Kahuno. Well, what does that mean? They are Don de Kahuno. It means that they are checking out every Kehen, whether the Kehen is fit to do the service, the Aved in the Beis Hamikdash. And then it says, if there's an imperfection in the Kehen, he would put on dark garments, and he would leave, and he couldn't do the Aveda. In a Kehen where there was no imperfection in him, which means he can do the Aveda, he can do the service in the Beis Hamikdash. What happened to him? Levish levonim u'misatev levonim, he would put on white garments and don white garments. Nichnas shamish yemecha v'kehanim, and he would go in and do the Aveda with his brothers, the Kehanim. And the Gemara continues, V'yemti v'yoesim shalenim subsul bezadi shaladin hakein, and they would make a yemtiv, they would make a festivity, that there is no imperfection in the children of Adin Hakein. And this is what they would say: blessed is Almighty God, blessed is He that there is no imperfection in the children of Adin. And blessed is Almighty God, that He chose Adin and his children, to stand and to do the service in front of Almighty God in Kodesh HaKadoshim. This is the end of Maseches Midas. The Rebbe learns this Gemara, and the Rebbe says there's something here that's not understood. To stand and to do the Aveda in Kodesh HaKadoshim is not for every Kohen. That's only for Adin and his grandchildren. It's only a very small percentage of Kehanim or Kehanim Gdelim. So what's important to all Kehanim is that there's no imperfection in children of Adin. Why is this addition? It's an addition that's only for Adin. And in Kodesh HaKadoshim you only do the service once a year. L'chila, you should have said something that's important to all Kehanim, and that is, that should have been the bracha. And the Rebbe says that there is a machlekes between the Rambam and the Ramban. What is the most important thing in the Beis Hamikdash? We mentioned it last week. The Ramban says that the most important thing in Beis Hamikdash was is a place that of Gilui Ashchina. We also Migdosh v'shachanti b'seichum. That's the most important thing. The Rambam says the most important thing is that you can bring korbanos. Now, in bringing korbanos and in Gilui Ashchina, where did you see the greatest Gilui Ashchina? On Yom Kippur. Who did the service on Yom Kippur? Adin Hakein. Says the Rebbe that this Gilsa, this version, is in accordance with the Ramban, because in accordance to the Rambam, the siyum is the Yom Tevayeshim Shelenim Tzapsul B'Zadi Shalad and Hakein, that they would make us a Yom Tev that there's no psul. V'kacha Yoemirim Baruch Hamakom Baruch Hu Shelenim Tzapsul B'Zadi Shalad. Blessed is Almighty God, blessed is He that there is no imperfection in the children of Adin. According to the Rambam, that's where the Masechta ends. This is according to the Rambam. Well, it's interesting that on the Gillian, there's a Shito Mikubetzes. And the Shito Mikubetzes says, Al Tevas Uboruch, Al Tevas HaKadoshim, from the word Uboruch, and Atil HaKadoshim, Nil Sham Kav L'Maylo, there is a line to say that this is out according to the Rambam. And therefore, this version, this Gilse is only according to the Rambam. First of all, this is about the binyan of the Beis Hamikdash. Moreover, if it was important throughout the generations, it's even more important now. Because we are the last generation of Golus and the first generation of Gerulo. And we are going to be, this generation are going to build the Beis Hamikdash. So all of these halachas are even more pertinent to us than they ever were before. Because the Rebbe teaches us that Hine Mashiach is coming now in this generation, however frivolous. Somebody's going to say, this generation, look at them. And the Rebbe says, this generation, you wrote off this generation. He said, this is the generation of Mashiach. Indeed, this is the generation that is going to see in Yot Hashem, the coming of Mashiach and the building of the Beis Hamikdash Tashlishi, Gesundheit und Fröhlichkeit, over Agolo Didan, over Simcha of Tuv Livov, over Tiva Nire Ve'anigle, over Matam Yasarot Fochim, over Chesed, over Lachamim, Ve'tekef, Umiyad, Mamesh.